YWCA Northwestern Illinois will honor the achievements of women and leaders in the community at their 45th annual Leader Luncheon next month. Joining us now is Dr. Kim Hires, a leadership burnout coach. Dr. Kim, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So, you're going to be the keynote speaker at this Leader Luncheon. And as you are a burnout coach, there's a lot of people who don't really believe in that idea of burnout. But could you really talk about, how real it truly is?
Yes, so burnout is not a new phenomenon. We've been studying it since the 1970s, and it's quantifiable. We can measure it. We know what to look for. We look for exhaustion, cynicism, professional efficacy. There's also quite a bit of research about how it impacts us physically. So it's very much a real phenomenon.
Yes, I certainly agree with you on that one. And, could you tell us about your own experience with burnout?
Yeah, so ironically, one of my degrees is in psychology, and I became interested in burnout when I burnt out back in 2014. And the first time I heard the term, like most people, I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was a real phenomenon, but the researcher in me kicked in and I started to research it and learned as much as I can about it and started doing my own research with it and launched my own coaching practice to make sure that no one can have my burnout story.
Yes, absolutely. And then, part of your work is, helping leaders sort of achieve their highest potential. So could you talk about your dedication to, helping others with that?
Yes. So one of the things I've come to realize is that whenever a lot of organizations think of burnout, they think of it as just a employee problem, right? But in my experience, water and stress roll downhill. And so when an organizational leader calls me in and says, we're having a high rate of turnover and our engagement surveys are citing burnout, I often ask them, well, how are you doing? How are things going on with the senior leadership team? Because it's not just a their problem. It's not just a my problem. Burnout really is an our problem. And I approach it from the perspective of it being 50% the individual and 50% organizational culture. When both pieces come together, then we can create a workplace where leaders thrive. But if your leaders aren't well, no one else in the organization will be well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one more quick question here for you, Dr. Kim. Something that I think is really cool here. You also have a podcast where you work with leaders. Could you tell us a little bit about what you guys talk about?
Yes, the Leadership Antidote podcast. So one of the biggest questions I get is this even feasible? Is it even feasible to create a culture where people don't burn out? And so I accepted that challenge and I talked to leaders in different industries from all over the world, showing, yes, it is possible. They share their leadership story, they share their organization story, and we're tackling burnout one interview at a time.
Yes, absolutely. Certainly some wonderful tips. Thank you so much for coming onto the show there, Dr. Kim, but that is all the time that we have for our interview. Thank you so much.